I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
You're not having to pay for all the meals that writers are famous for ordering lunch.
That's
right?
what's ruining Hollywood. It's the meal budget. Damn it. That's exactly.
It's all those lunches from Mendocino Farms that's doing it.
Yeah. Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. This is Sean McNulty of the Wake Up Newsletter here at the Ankler on Thursday, March 27th. On today's docket, Leslie Goldberg of the Serious Business Newsletter is going to join us to talk about the state of TV development, writers' rooms, mini or otherwise, and some very interesting takeaways from her conversations with some pretty prominent names in the business this week. And of course, as always, a pop quiz where we will probably give embarrassing answers because Elaine Lowe would have it no other way. Isn't that right, Elaine?
I love this weekly humiliation, Sean.
Every time we can Slack, she's like, make sure we do this because I want to make sure I look a little silly on the podcast.
Look as stupid as possible, please, Sean.
Well, I have good news for you, Elaine. So, but before we dive into TV, let's start with the good old movie business. Elaine, I will note that Richard is away this week. Although, Elaine, I'm about 40% sure he's been cast in the new Avengers movie. Did you see that list?
Oh my God, everybody's back.
It's like 26 roles or something like that. And they're not even done yet. They're like, and we have more. I'm like, I think you're good. I don't know.
Hey, listen, we're going to see the return of Patrick Stewart even, who as Professor X, I'm pretty sure has died at least 2 to 3 times in various X-Men movies. Yeah. But hey, that's Marvel, baby. You never know when you'll come back from the dead.
There were a lot of people, I was like, wait a second, is that person dead? And Robert Downey Jr. is back as a whole new role, Elaine. So speaking of someone who already passed on in the universe.
Yeah, Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, which was already announced, of course, before. So yeah, I'm guessing you're psyched here, right? I don't know. You're the Marvel,
Listen, I had Marvel fatigue for a hot minute there, but I think we're back in business.
All right, you got the tingles going on there. Okay, well, they have the Russo brothers have a whole 13 months to finish casting, start shooting, probably do some sort of a Comic-Con stunt, get in the edit room, I guess create a real killer Super Bowl ad, and then get into theaters by May 1st next year, Elaine. So I'm glad that's not my job. That's like, seems like a tight timeline. Definitely a bit much. But the Russo brothers certainly know what they're doing. But as for the blockbusters here this year, Elaine, not a great March, of course, Mickey 17 and Snow White, certainly well documented here on the podcast. We've done to dive into that again. But, it's not a great month, Elaine, when even Netflix Films has kind of a dud. So that's kind of the state we're at. The 300 million plus Electric State, also from the Russo brothers, did 48 million global views in 10 days, which nothing to sneeze at, Elaine, right? That's
a good number. That's a good starting number. But I guess for $300 million, I mean, where do you get your bang from your buck on that one?
A little bit. I mean, that's only about half the amount of views of Millie Bobby Brown's last movie, Damsel, and about half the views of their last movie, The Gray Man, also in the same time period. So, you have to weigh the total picture there. I broke down all the comps and stuff in the Wake Up this week. So it's interesting to see the perception's a little different about all the Snow White chatter. And Electric State's really not generating, that same kind of conversation, Elaine.
I don't think I realized it had a $300 million production bill.
Yeah, I've seen 300, 320. It just seemed to, which, is like, that's even like crazy for like theatrical film or whatever.
2025 for a streaming service.
Yeah, so it's like Netflix like 2021. Like it's like we don't do that anymore. I don't think we're going to see another one of those in Netflix for forever probably. But but Elaine, we are on the cusp of Richard's second happiest time of the year, or it might be his happiest because he does have to wear a tuxedo, so that's probably true. CinemaCon is coming up next week, Elaine.
Good old CinemaCon.
Yes.
It's time for him to really cash in on all of the concessions.
Yes, Richard and I will both be there next week, I will say. I'll be the...
you'll both be there.
We'll both be there. So I'll be the 6'4" guy standing next to him holding his candy bag. You went with him, Elaine. Is that my role there, basically?
I held his Barbie hat the last time we went, yes. And his bag of whatever, like, crazy popcorn he had gotten from the convention floor.
Yeah, my role will be merch holder is what I'm kind of guessing is what I'm being brought out, going out to Vegas. But if you do see us out there, please say hello. We love to hear anybody who listens to the podcast, of course. And Amazon MGM is joining the first time. We we have a streamer studio joining this time, Elaine.
Oh, interesting. Wait, so would MGM go before Solo, and now it's like Amazon's going now that it has MGM under its wing?
It's a good question at MGM. I don't know. I mean, it's been a few years since Amazon absorbed it, and COVID kind of changed things. I imagine they've gone in the past at some point, but they've definitely been out of it for a few years there.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, we've had Amazon on the TV side at the upfronts for the last couple of years, so it was a matter of time, right? With MGM, you're going to see them at CinemaCon now.
Elaine, you buy a movie studio, you kind of make movies. It's like, yeah, you're kind of in that business. Like you paid $8 billion for a movie studio. Hey, I have good news for you. You were in the movie business, my friend, and the TV studio business for that matter as well. But very busy over at Amazon. Have you noticed this at all, Elaine? Has this been on your radar at all?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, they're going to get lots of James Bond questions out at CinemaCon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mostly from Richard, I'm sure. But yeah, but I mean, Richard wrote about it in his Thursday column this week. I don't know if you've been keeping track of this stuff.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Are you noticing a lot of Amazon being?
Yes, there's a lot of Amazon-related headlines. Not that I don't read you guys regularly all the time, as everybody else should be reading the Wake Up and Angler himself. But yeah, give us the TLDR on this.
So I track, of course, all the daily goings-on in the business of movie deals, TV deals every day, and it's just been adding up. And we've talked a little bit about it in the podcast before, but I went back and I looked at it. I mean, in the first quarter of this year, so 3 months, they've had activity around 15 different movie projects, whether that's buying a project, actively casting, or attaching a director. And that's just in 3 months. If you go back 4 months, that's 20. Like, that is an incredible amount of activity there for one studio that is clearly cranking up, because we talked about, that's South by Southwest. They announced they were doing, 12 to 14 movies in next year. I'm like, are they really going to do it? And I'm like, it seems like they are. I don't know. I mean,
that's a heck of a big number.
Yeah, but everybody's kind of like, oh, I don't know. But I'm like, the evidence this year is definitely, kind of like, yeah, I think they're going for it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I get for saying last week that I was like, these tech companies, they could just shutter it up and take their ball and go home whenever they want.
I know, Richard.
No, they're here.
Yeah, he kind of in the same tone again. It's like that Lucy in the football. It's just like, I don't know, we should trust this, but it doesn't seem like it. But you kind of look both sides. You're like, I think they're doing it. So a lot of excitement there. I broke down all the projects there in the Wake Up. You can check that out if you want. They do have, I think, 4 films on the docket this year, and they still have a couple in streaming. That Simple Favor movie is going to streaming in early May, I think. They have a movie called Holland with Nicole Kidman that just debuted this week, I think. So kind of a mixed bag this year. But next year they have a Chris Pratt movie in early January, so they're kicking off with the big
Don't we all have a Chris Pratt movie in the works?
Yeah, we do next year. So January 23rd, be there. But of course, they do have a Colleen Hoover movie, which everybody certainly has now. Now Elaine's in. All right, well, be there in May. They did announce a May date for next summer for that. So be there in the theaters for that one. But let's move over to the world of TV development and writers' rooms and welcome in.
Your favorite topic, Sean.
Listen, I'm a well-versed person. I do it all, Elaine. So, we did our movie talk. I can move on from my day now, so it's fine. We can go into the glamorous world of writers' rooms, as everybody loves to hang out there all day. But we're going to bring in Leslie Goldberg now to the pod. Good to have you back. Wow, such enthusiasm, Elaine. Very nice.
I feel like we don't have like a live studio audience, so I gotta supply the.
Is that the energy there?
The cheers,
nice.
Yeah.
All right. From the Peanut Gallery over there. Good to have you back on the pod, Leslie.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's always a pleasure to record with y'all.
Good to have you back. And if we're talking writers' rooms and development, I know better to hand the mic over to Elaine. So
it's my turn.
Where should we dive? Where do we dive in, Elaine?
Okay, so Leslie, you had a fascinating writer survey this week, and is this part 1?
Yes, part 1.
Okay. All right, very nice. You talked to scores of writers, including Sean Ryan, Damon Lindelof, other high-profile writers who shall be named or chose to remain anonymous, and you got some very interesting insights from them. I mean, what's the main takeaway here?
The main takeaway is that no one wants to continue to work for free, and that the development, as episode orders are getting shorter, think the old broadcast days of 24 episodes in one season, and now most streaming shows are 8 episodes if you're lucky. That's bringing about, like, now you're going to be done crafting the show before you even have an opportunity to learn another skill. Like, the time that it takes to set the show up versus the time it takes to deliver everything is completely imbalanced and broken.
Right. We're talking long development periods.
Huge
and
development
then very
periods.
short writer's room periods, right? Like that's kind of the trend these days. Development has gotten longer. Being in an actual writer's room has gotten shorter. And by
you're
the
not
time,
going to set.
Yeah, by the time your episode's in production, you're off to your second or third job after that. Like the old way of doing things is just out the window. But that's creating like pain points for people, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially with the end of, the so-called mini rooms, which is basically a pre-green light room where studios and streamers get writers to work more for free to create additional jobs. I mean, most mini rooms are actually paid, although albeit at a lower wage than if it's an actual full green light writer's room. But it's just you're working so much more to get the green light, and it's not always a paid gig. And in this economy, good luck.
Yeah, that was a contentious issue during the strike, and the resounding battle cry was no more mini rooms.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, do we have some people missing mini rooms still?
Yes, quite a few, as it turns out.
We TBT to mini rooms here, guys? What's going on?
Yeah, TBT, mini rooms. A lot of people are basically, like, as one writer told me, you eliminated mini rooms, and these were paying jobs, albeit, like I said, low paying ones, because you're still waiting for the formal series green light and the actual job offer to come through. But it's still a paying job. And for a low level writer that's currently unemployed, which would you rather be? Right? Being in a mini room and getting a small check versus getting no check and not being in any room and not working at all.
Right,
so I think that's the point where we've found ourselves now in this industry.
There were also some complaints about pods, right? And like for the uninitiated, I know we have a very inside baseball audience, but like for the uninitiated, tell us a little bit about what a pod is, how it typically functions, and what some of the issues writers are having with it now.
Yeah. Well, in this climate right now, you're seeing a lot of actors or executives who weren't exactly writers creating these pods, which is basically a mini company that is set up at a studio where an actor has the opportunity to earn additional revenue and income because they're an EP on a project that they either are not a part of as a development person or as an actor.
And it gives them a little more creative control too, right?
Yeah, you get a little bit more control, but let's be honest, it's about the payday. It's just another way to increase your rate, right? Because if, let's speak in hypothetical, and if you're on, the world's hottest show and you're an actor and you're entering salary renegotiations and they can say, well, we're going to make you an EP. They can keep your pay the same, but now you're getting an added rate on top of that because now you're an executive producer on that show. So it's a way to yes, you're in theory have more creative control, but that's not always how pods work. But it's effectively another layer of executives that you're going to have to impress before you're on your path to getting a green light.
Yeah. I mean, like, Sean, on the movie side, do you hear kind of similar complaints about like how long it takes to get a movie made? Any kind of development issues over there?
I mean, movies have been doing that since they started making movies. Like, I don't know. I don't know that it ever moved fast. I mean, you hear stories of it took 11 years to get this on the screen, and more on the producer side.
It's like worse in movies, right?
Yeah, and doing how many rounds on a script and things like that. So I think
all the rewrites, replacing directors, etc.
You're used to it at that point. So I don't think this phenomenon is, as I said, you're not making as many shows and that many episodes. So just the math is changing, where the movie math isn't necessarily changing as much, as movies are still kind of movies in that sense. So I think that's the movie writers and TV writers just have, and we saw that kind of in the negotiations, Elaine, I think to a degree, where the movie writers were like, well, there was a lot of focus on the TV changes, but not a lot on the movie. Not that there maybe didn't have to be any made, but the conversation was definitely dominated on the TV side there. I think that probably still applies. So
yeah. And Leslie, like, I thought it was really interesting. I've written about pitching in a Zoom room before and doing virtual pitches. What do writers want to see differently done about these pitch meetings? Like, it sounds like they're also open to just doing more Zoom stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. One writer that I spoke with basically felt that the idea of pitching, where, most pitches work where you have a writer, you get the production company or the studio right behind you, and then you're pitching in the exec. They know little to nothing, or maybe they've read a couple of pages, but they've been soft pitched by an agent or a manager or a studio exec, and you're hopping on and you're basically reading a multi-page document to them and you're trying to sell the show, right? It's a sales pitch. That's why it's called a pitch. But a lot of people are saying, well, why don't I just give you all of these written out materials? If I've created a Bible, if whatever you've created, send that to someone, to the executive in advance, and then follow that up with like an hour-long Q&A session of
like
these
let
were
them
my
actually
questions.
digest everything.
Exactly, Elaine. You perfectly encapsulated it. And as it pertains to Zoom, a lot of people are saying, if the option is, do you want to add another writer, in which case the budget doesn't necessarily allow that, well, then put the writer's room on Zoom, then you're not having to pay for the rent of an office, et cetera. Wow. You're not having to pay for all the meals that writers are famous for ordering lunch.
That's
right?
what's ruining Hollywood. It's the meal budget. Damn it. That's exactly.
It's all those lunches from Mendocino Farms. It's doing it.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're just down the street from me. I see the poor assistants running there every day.
To be a producer on the next Netflix series, I think. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But the idea, think about it though. If you're a showrunner and you have X amount of funds, and you're sitting there saying, I could get another writer, which could help the show overall, but I could do it in a way that is more cost effective for the production. And maybe you open it up to a writer who doesn't live in Los Angeles, where the writer's room would have been based, right?
That's what I thought was most interesting about this. The idea of making a creative endeavor more accessible to people living outside of LA and New York. And we saw a little bit of that during COVID, right? Like I talked to somebody who was like staffed when they were living in Atlanta, or somebody working on an LA show who was living in New York. But I think the idea of accessibility is a really interesting one, especially for anybody who's sort of had the complaint about creative endeavors being a coastal activity.
Yeah, and especially in this climate, economically speaking, it's expensive to live in Los Angeles. And if you're a writer and you haven't worked since the strike, chances are you either have a roommate or you're married or you have you live at home or whatever that is.
Or you're bartending and Ubering at the same time.
Exactly. And it's, it's expensive to live here. And one of the people that I spoke with was saying the same thing. It's like, it's much more tenable to do a Zoom room in a state that you can afford to live in versus Los Angeles, right? It's hard. It's hard to make it here.
You just like go to somebody's house. Some people have very nice houses in LA. We don't need an official office, right? I mean, just I don't know.
Hey, go to the showrunner's house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
does Sean Ryan have a nice guest house or a pool house or something?
His Sony check's pretty decent, or was,
Somebody's got to have a nice little ADU to work out of.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Sean's got that Netflix money now, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, listen. But anyway, just a free idea, Hollywood. Take it as you like.
Yeah. Free idea. Well, we're going to stop for a break right here, but after we get back, we're going to chat more with Leslie and Sean about, this wild and crazy world that we're living in now, where these writers' rooms are shorter and development is longer, and it doesn't seem like a lot is getting made. All right, we'll be back right after the break.
Hear that? It's SpringFest savings calling your name, only at Lowe's. Right now, get a free Select Ego 56-volt battery when you buy a Select Ego trimmer, blower, or mower. Plus, get your choice of any 2 bags of Miracle-Gro organic soil mix for only $16. Shop these can't-miss deals in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/2. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Hawaii.
Hi, I'm Eric Barmack, and I'm a working producer, and I write the Real AI newsletter for The Ankler. Real AI is your destination to understand the truth about AI and entertainment, who's using it, how they're using it, and the technological change already here in the industry. I care about AI because it's changed the way I run my own business and even pitch and sell shows. I've used AI for script coverage, to help my team brainstorm concepts, and even to come up with pitch decks. Real AI will also tell you more about the fast-moving technology the studios and streamers are tracking and how that will impact your job both today and tomorrow. I believe being informed is the only way to face the new frontier right here at our doorstep, which I believe can help foster the best in our human creativity, something that can never be replaced. Real AI comes out every other Tuesday as part of a paid subscription to The Ankler, so please join me by subscribing at theankler.com today.
All right, welcome back to the Ankler podcast. Back on here with Sean McNulty and Leslie Goldberg, talking about Leslie's great piece this week where she talked to dozens of TV writers, including some big-name showrunners, about some of their gripes, but also potential solutions. And that's the part that I think is interesting, right? Like, everybody's got a complaint about something, but there were some very interesting solutions that were proposed here to some of their biggest issues here. So, like, what were the most interesting changes that writers you talk to believe should be made here to the industry?
I liked Sean's idea, honestly, of changing the name of, and it's just obviously nomenclature, but if it's called a development room or a writer's room, get rid of all of that and just call it a showroom. Because the biggest issue for him is he's training these writers on how to produce episodes, and that's something you have to fight for in this climate with, wherever your show is based. That's extra money that you have to have earmarked in your budget. And what Sean is saying is, I want to do that. I want to spend that money because you're training writers for their next job. You're training them how to go onto a set and how to produce an episode of television. And that is a skill that a lot of up-and-coming writers simply do not have anymore. And that's increasingly being asked of them, especially as these shows get shorter and shorter in terms of episode counts, right? Like, the opportunity to learn how to produce an episode of television is just evaporating. And all that's doing is hurting the next generation of showrunners. They're not learning these valuable skills.
Everybody talks about how the showrunner pipeline is broken. I mean, Sean, you've heard me say this like a million times, right? Of all the writers that I talked to over the last couple of years.
Very, very familiar there. And it's funny, Leslie, now, of course, everyone's shorted shows for a while now. The procedural's back. You have Pulse on Netflix, and you have,
The Pit on Max.
The Pit on
Just
the
started
Noah
watching
Wiley
The Pit,
show.
yeah.
I did too,
so,
yeah.
Now
Love
you have
it.
to produce 16 episodes, and it's back to that skill set. It's like, I never done that before. So again, like, that training process becomes even more important because you'll probably be asked to do a lot more within a quicker time frame. And if you don't have that real fast kind of know-how, you can't be wasting time on a set like that. So it's funny that even that procedural resurgence or bubbling up, we're starting to see benefits there too.
And look at those two shows that you singled out. Look at the showrunners, John Wells and Carlton Cuse, both of whom cut their teeth in broadcast on 24 episodes.
Yeah, these fresh young names that I've never heard of before.
The
guys that know how to do it all.
They've done that 20 times in their careers, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine probably more with all the busted pilots.
Exactly. So it's a good point.
Well, speaking of new and emerging talent, though, which you mentioned earlier, Leslie, like, I want to wrap up by talking a little bit about, like, how can you be an up-and-coming writer in this climate? It's always hard to be an up-and-comer, right? But it just feels harder than ever now, coming out of 2 strikes, being in this environment where it feels like barely anything still is getting made.
Yeah, I feel horrible for the up-and-coming writers because a lot of shows that are staffing right now, first of all, I've heard, and this might be, something I look at in the future, but I keep hearing from agents and from writer friends that when they hear that something is staffing, the person who's staffing it is already getting north of 600 submissions for maybe 3 or 5 jobs.
Wow.
That's insane and not at all like it used to be 5 years ago. And the struggle is real for a lot of established showrunners too, because they're getting all these people that they've worked with over their careers saying, hey, I have tuition to pay for, or my mortgage is due and I'm running out of money because I haven't worked in 3 years. Do you have anything coming up? And that's a crazy thing because a lot of writers are hiring people that they know, who they've worked with in the past because it's a known quantity.
You want somebody who can get the job done.
Yeah.
Right. So that makes it even harder for new writers to get their foot in the door. And like I reported in the last time we had, one of the last times you guys had me on the show, the CW was an incredible pipeline for new writers, and that's gone.
Hundreds of them. Yeah. Now those opportunities aren't there anymore. Yeah. A lot more doom and gloom out there, but also some really interesting solutions and suggestions in there. So listeners, definitely check out Leslie's piece it ran in this week's series Business.
Indeed. And one more other piece just to check out real quick here at the Ankler. Really interesting read. I don't know if you saw this or not. This story from Baywatch actress Alexandra Paul, who shared a very detailed,
wow.
Leslie, if you read this, but
of course I read that. That was incredible.
The experience of being stalked for 13 years and just legal aspects. The other, just, it was a very nuanced story and really opened up about a lot of it. But something I'd certainly not been aware of on my radar, but a great read to check out there.
Yeah, that's chilling to say the least.
Yeah, at theankler.com. But let's put a little bow on the episode here with Elaine's favorite. You up for a little quiz here, Leslie? You want to play along here?
Is it baseball related? Because I'm into that.
See, that's what I ask every week. I'm like, where's my tennis quiz, Sean?
I can do. Hey, you want to do sports quizzes? I can do sports quizzes. Let's get that right. But all right, and I don't know these questions, so for the record, this is not my quiz. This is devised by our wonderful producer. So here we go. Starting off, we're going back to Marvel, where we started, Elaine. So 9 of the 10 highest-grossing superhero franchise movies of all time are all Marvel films. What is the one non-Marvel film on the list?
Oh, what? I thought you were. It was in my wheelhouse when you were talking Marvel until we got out of that. Okay. Leslie's got her hand up.
All right,
I got to
Leslie,
guess.
The floor is yours.
Eternals.
But that is a Marvel movie,
That's
isn't it?
Marvel.
No, one non-Marvel
it's non-Marvel movie.
Yes,
Oh,
1 out of 10.
That's what I'm saying.
Avatar.
Non-Marvel.
Avatar, all right. Yeah,
because that is a franchise movie, isn't it?
I mean, it used to be the highest grossing of all time.
I'm going with that as well.
Oh, I feel like it's got to be Disney, but I can't think of any other franchises. So, I'll say it's one of the X-Men movie, but I know it's not one of the X-Men movies.
All right, we're going with Incredibles 2 is actually what the answer is. I would
guess
go.
That's a superhero movie.
I'm with you,
isn't it?
Leslie, on an Avatar being a superhero of sorts, but I guess probably not based on a comic book. So, well, there we go. So, Incredibles 2. All right, and what is the lowest grossing Marvel movie?
Oh, the lowest grossing Marvel movie.
I
feel like I just said it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's maybe Eternals, or wasn't there like a Hulk movie that didn't do well that came out right after Iron Man did in like the late aughts?
Yeah, there's the
Edward Norton one.
The Universal one.
That wasn't Marvel though. That was
it's the Hulk, but
right.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Feige era there. So no,
it wasn't an MCU movie.
Yeah, that's a good guess. My own would be was it the Marvels? What was the second one they did? That came out 2 years ago. I think the title was the first one was Ms. Marvel and the second one was the Marvels. I think so. The second Marvels movie would be my guess, but let's see what we got.
Oh,
the Marvels.
You're
All right,
right,
there we
Marvels.
go. That's it. Go with the recent history. So, 206 million worldwide. So, there you go. Third final question. How much did Disney buy Marvel for in 2009? And what is the current estimated worth? According to whom on the estimated? All right, anyway, there's a price tag for Marvel in 2009. Leslie, any guesses?
Priceless.
Oh, God. I should remember this, but I'm such a TV nerd that I don't.
See, I feel like I should know of all the things, I should pick my little business brain and I should know this answer. God, how many billions of dollars are we talking?
But Disney acquired all the Fox assets for what was it? I think it's like almost tattooed on my brain, like 72.6.
70, well, it was 71. But that was for all of 20th Century Fox.
2009.
2009 Marvel price tag.
How many billions are we putting this at? Sean, do you know the answer to this one?
I don't. So, no, I don't. I'm happy to guess before if you like, Elaine, but.
I'll say 12.
12. I'm just going to say 5. All right, what do we got?
Oh, current estimation. Like I said, priceless.
I'm not going on a current estimate. In a current estimation, according to whom, I don't know what books. Yeah.
$1 billion.
Thank you. I'm going with Leslie on that. I'll second Leslie's answer. All right. $4 billion in 2009. I was not that far off at 5. Estimated now is $54 billion. I don't know where that comes from, but okay, fine. That is
seems low, honestly.
I don't even. Yeah, I'm like,
we'll get our in-house analysis team on
we'll
this
get
right away.
Richard, right
More
on that
TV
one,
questions next time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy! All right. Well, at the theaters this weekend, for Elaine, a town that always decries there's no more original movies anymore. Hollywood doesn't make original movies. We got 5 of them in theaters this weekend. So again, put up or shut up time. We have across 5 genres. You have an action movie and a working man, a Jason Statham movie. You have a horror movie and a woman in the yard. Movie for adults, if you will. The Penguin Lesson with Steve Coogan was coming out from Sony Pictures Classics, and The Ballad of Wallace Island, which I'm very excited to see. I think that's more in a limited capacity from Focus. You have Death of a Unicorn from A24, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, and you have even the kind of religious genre that The Chosen is doing their next. That's TV actually, first 2 episodes of that next season. So all due in theaters this weekend.
Oh boy, what a bounty of originals we have here. After the performance of Mickey 17, should we be bracing ourselves though?
I don't think this is going to pay off in anywhere near the fashion that it should have, but in different times. But just pointing out for the record, these movies are still being made and they're still coming out in theaters. There's no IP in the bunch there outside of The Chosen being an ongoing series. But my guess, Elaine, is people wait for Minecraft next weekend, which is I'm guessing where your money's going to be going.
I will be at Minecraft next weekend. Correct. But only because of the children.
I say the kids are mandating
By the
that.
way, you know what's crazy about it is neither of my children actually plays Minecraft, but it's like a lifestyle brand for the elementary school set, which I think says something about like how much Minecraft has permeated the cultural consciousness of that whole cohort. Like, listen, my daughter just turned 6, and we had a Minecraft-themed birthday party upon request.
Wow.
This child has never actually played Minecraft before, but all of her little friends are into it.
All right.
So
she knows what's going on, I guess? She knows the characters?
I guess the kids just all like the little blocky characters. Like, none of them actually plays. Like, they're like 5 and 6. Like,
all right. Well, that's music to Warner Brothers ears, so we'll see what happens with that next weekend. So
I feel like it's going to do well.
Elaine's buying stock. Elaine's buying that one.
Take the over.
Yeah, taking the over. Going big on that one. So anyway, you can, of course, go to theankler.com to sign up for the newsletters and podcasts here at The Ankler. Just pop in the old email address. Any feedback for us? Anything you want to hear more of, less of, just thoughts in general, or just want to say hello, drop a note at podcasts@theankler.com. You can also leave a rating and review in your favorite podcast app and, help the audience, the show grow a little bit. You can follow The Ankler on the socials at The Ankler, and that's about it. Elaine, always a pleasure to see you. Leslie, thank you for joining us as well again here today, and a big thanks to you all for listening. We'll see you next time.